Here is a clip of Mike Huckabee. There seems to be an all-out effort, like a campaign, to say that Republican elected leaders are being maligned, and unfairly targeted. And I think, this was the brain trust must have gotten together and said, hey, this whole thing with Sarah Sanders not being able to eat at a restaurant, this is great for us because this is really going to pull on people's heartstrings. Everybody loves to go out to eat, and everybody can imagine, what if you were basically shilling for an administration where we were kidnapping children, or we were dialing back environmental protections, or where we were saying to the police force it's open season on targeting minorities, or where we were saying formaldehyde inhalation no problem for folks, or on and on and on, and you couldn't have dinner. Don't you think the average person would relate to that? And then Mike Huckabee says, yes, I'm going to go on TV and talk about how these are basically acts of terror.
In a free society where people choose their government, the one thing that is required for that government to survive is that people have to accept the results of the election. And what we've had since November of 2016 is that the losing side has not accepted the results. So what they've
Pause it for 1 second. I know this is a long time ago, but I want people to go all the way back to 2009 when Barack Obama, they so much could, and I have my problems with Barack Obama, but one of them is not that he was not an American. They had such problem with this election that this black guy won, that they not only walked around with monkeys and nooses and crap like that, they questioned whether or not he was even eligible to run. We don't even have to question the election results because he wasn't even eligible to run. There shouldn't have been an election with Barack Obama. And I'll say, this was not just coming from a bartender or a waiter or something like this. It was coming from members of the U.S. Congress, Republicans, who John Boehner refused to say, maybe it's time to move on.
Well, and also the president came from the future president.
Well, the future president.
Right.
Day one, from the moment this has happened, they've tried to not only delegitimize the election itself, but they've tried to commit acts of terror. And I use that word very intentionally because when you try to change people's behavior by intimidation, by threats of violence, and by actual violence, and by boycotting them, and by taking away their liberty, that's terrorism. And what we're seeing is a form of terrorism on the left that is unprecedented in American history. Look, it's fine to disagree with election results. It's fine to hate the people who get elected. I say it's fine. It's really not. But that doesn't necessarily destroy our country. This destroys our country.
Hey, Matt, I want to play a game with you, okay? This is a game that sometimes I do with Saul. One of these things is different from the others, okay?
Okay.
Threats of violence.
Okay.
Violence.
Okay.
And boycotts. Can you come up with something? I don't have my music. Boop, 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 boop.
I'm going to go with...
Boop, 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 boop.
Sorry,
let me add one more in there. Okay. One more, okay? Okay, so violence, threats of violence, deprivation of liberty. In other words, like throwing somebody into jail. And boycotts.
I'll say boycotts just because it's the last one.
Yes, I should have put that in the middle. Darn it.
You have
Darn
to do
it.
a misdirect.
Darn it. Now, the thing is, with a boycott, it's you're not even, that's not even something like, I'm just as a consumer, I'm not going to buy certain things. That is the thing that's completely out of bounds for the
Well, you really shouldn't
Republic.
do that. It's pretty bad. Well,
and who is depriving anyone of liberty, or who's committing violence or acts of violence or threats of violence?
I wanted the liberty of having farm-to-table meal. And, was violated. But don't you... I start to read these things, though, as you know, also like the precursor to... I mean, there's all these pieces of state legislation that essentially destroy people's right to peacefully assemble and protest. And I just see this as part and parcel of like policy packages specifically that will be designed to destroy the ability to assemble and protest, essentially. Like, I don't think this is
saying
just
it's like
cultural
Erdogan?
whining. I think it is like Erdogan. I think it's very similar to Erdogan. And I think that you already see it at the state level. They have the maps for, like, you know, as an example, if you block foot traffic for a second to a restaurant because you're protesting, maybe you're liable for, you know, 30 grand of lost revenue, right? Like stuff like that.
There's literally the Dakota Access Pipeline. The North Dakota Republicans wanted to pass a law giving what is it called? That you can't sue somebody if they hit you and you're protesting.
If you get run over by a car,
you're indemnified.
Yes,
you're indemnified.
So they have it, and they've done it, and they've attempted or done it on a state level. So I don't. Yeah, I think it goes beyond grievance stuff. I think it's policy stuff.